Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. It's so good of you to join me here today. So, we are almost here. That is right. Tomorrow is an exciting day. Tomorrow is the day for the NFL playoffs. That's right. The divisional round is almost upon us. And today I'm going to give you a couple of quick picks and some analysis on what's about to transpire in this exciting weekend. Now, you might be wondering, well, what's so exciting, so special about this weekend? Well, for most NFL fans who support normal, regular teams with a decent history and who have had a series of successes in the past, you probably might be saying, well, it's just another round of playoffs. But for me, a Detroit Lions fan, this weekend is absolutely special because last week we did something that we rarely do. We won a playoff game. And now I find myself in a strange but, you know, exciting position where I get to actually watch football and actually root for my team because Lord knows, as a Lions fan, we sure haven't had too much success in the postseason. But yet, here we are contending to do something that nobody would have thought possible. Go to the NFC Championship game as a franchise that has only won, as of right now, two playoff games in the history of the Super Bowl era. Which, by the way, we've been there the entire time. Okay, we're an original NFL franchise, one of the originals, one of the first. But anyway, let us just look at what's going to happen this weekend and let us make some predictions and do some analysis up in here. That's right. So the first game, Texans versus Ravens. Now, I common sense would say that the Ravens are a shoe in for the AFC Championship and go in onto the next round and do something that Lamar hasn't done well since he's been Lamar in Baltimore, and that is win this game and go into that championship game. And honestly, I kind of give them a really good probability. I'd say that there's a good 60 to 70% chance that they do that. Against the Texans, which the Texans have never even been to an AFC championship since they've entered the league some 20 years ago. And this is probably Lamar's best chance to make it to that game because, again, neither of these franchises, or how it says, Lamar's never been to the game, and the Texans have never been to the game, and Lamar's always had to face teams that have been on the upswing, such as the Titans and and whatnot. But now we are here. Now we are watching a veteran quarterback that's more or less coming to his own, and he hasn't had the most stellar, spectacular season this year, and has been more reliant on the Ravens as a team, which is kind of really good because it's usually it's a team effort that wins you the game. It's not some one superstar or two superstars in the team. Take it from a Lions fan who's we have probably two players, two of the best positional players in NFL history, Calvin Johnson, Barry Sanders, and did nothing with that. So as a team, as a fan of a team, you want your team to be complete. You don't want one superstar. You want everybody to be equally good, or just have maybe a couple of really good players and really solid players all around, right? Because it is a team sport at the end of the day. And I think this is Lamar's best chance to advance again, simply because he's a veteran. The team hasn't had to rely on him too much. And CJ Stroud, this is a team that's overperforming in this moment. The Houston Texans are overperforming and are overachieving well above their expectations. And much like Joe Flacco last week, at a certain point that train has to come to an end. Reality has to set in that this team is still a rookie team with a rookie coach, first year coach, and it's like, can they do it? Absolutely. I mean, like, far be it from me, because sometimes the Ravens, are just like the Cowboys, but just of the AFC. Okay, the only difference is they don't have a voracious and how to say this, a very vocal fan base that makes them the butt of all jokes, in the same way that the Cowboys, put a target on themselves every time they go out there and just, try to trash everybody else on social media and just like in the media in general, right? But the Ravens, again, this team feels more veteran, and I do expect them to advance the next round into the AFC Championship game. Opposing them will be one of these two teams. It will be either the Chiefs or the Bills. Now, the Bills are going to do something that they haven't done against the Chiefs, and that is play at home against the Chiefs team that's going to come to them. Only difference is that I think the Chiefs are actually not at a disadvantage here, the same way that you would have thought in years past, because the Chiefs had a very brutal, cold game at Arrowhead where the wind chill got to almost negative 30. Okay. Ironically, the Chiefs are going to a warmer, friendlier environment when it comes to this round of the playoffs. And the Bills, I said Josh Allen is everybody says this is the Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady matchup, but I don't see it as such. And the reason I don't is because Peyton Manning was always the better quarterback in the regular season. Not always, but most of the times he was the better quarterback in the regular season than Tom Brady. But Tom Brady found a way to win in the postseason. Because if you look at Tom Brady as a quarterback, like I said, there's been better quarterbacks than Tom Brady, or like quarterbacks in their eras that you would say like people like Dan Marino and even now Patrick Mahomes is probably a better overall quarterback. But the only difference is Tom Brady just knows how to win. He's not flashy, he's not fast, but he just knows how to like make everybody around him great. And Patrick Mahomes is, I said, unlike Josh Allen's not like Peyton Manning because Josh Allen is not a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback, and just like Tom Brady, he has the Super Bowl rings to show for it. So I don't see how this matchup goes any differently. I pick the Chiefs. I think it's like I said, they're going into a friendlier, warmer climate and environment to just take care of business, and it's the Chiefs. I mean, it's like I said, they have more experience. They've been here before. They know how to win. And is it on the road? Sure, but again, it's like it can't be worse than last week when it comes to the cold or anything else like that. So I'm sure they'll adjust. And as I said, they're looking like they're getting better as the season gets on. Like the Chiefs are looking, like I said, if you have a couple of rough losses, a couple of tough games that you've lost in the regular season, there's learning opportunities. You don't want to get too hot at the end of the season because again, it's just like people will figure you out. But if you've been figured out, then you know how to rebuild and you know how to do the next game and how to perform better. So again, I think it's a Chiefs Ravens AFC Championship matchup. All right, over to the NFC. Okay, and now we got the Green Bay Packers versus the San Francisco 49ers. Now, what the Packers do to the Cowboys, the Niners do to the Packers every single year. Okay, it said like, is Green Bay better than Dallas and Dallas? Yeah. History has like shown that like every time Green Bay plays the Cowboys in the playoffs, they just somehow seem to always outperform them. And then somehow the same is true when the San Francisco Niners play the Green Bay Packers. It's almost like there's a tiered list. At the bottom of playoff teams is usually the Cowboys, Packers, Niners, and then whatever team that's actually going to beat any one of those three to actually make it to the Super Bowl in the NFC. At least that's the way it felt for like the last 10 or 20 years. That's like those teams are generally good, but like I said, they're good in the NFC, and then for whatever reason, the Packers, Niners, and Cowboys have done nothing in the last 20 years. Least of all, they haven't, with the exception of the Packers, they haven't won the Super Bowl. And the Packers had an amazing team that did win the Super Bowl, but for some reason, just like I said, like they haven't been able to rebuild that success. That being said, the Packers are better off than the Texans in this matchup because they did beat the number 2 seed. They went on the road, so they've already won on the road against the number 2 seed. This is a young team playing with house money, which means they can make decisions that the 49ers cannot make. They can go out there and play more aggressively, take bigger risks, okay? Like have those like 80-20 plays, like a 20% chance at a play and just take that risk because if they lose, oh well, like, hey, we outperformed, we did better, right? And again, Jordan Love is not exactly a rookie. He did sit behind Aaron Rodgers. He saw those brutal losses. He knows what's going on, so he might be actually better prepared than Aaron Rodgers would have been in this position. That being said, the 49ers, Brock Purdy has been here before. He's won playoff games. He's got a solid team around him. And again, they're playing at home. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. But they've been exposed in the regular season too. I mean, the Ravens absolutely trounced them, the Browns. So it's like I said, it might come down to defense and who is better at stopping the opposing quarterback, which I could give to the Packers because the Packers, I mean, they've played good or decent offenses in the past, like Detroit, and they've absolutely like they have a blueprint. I mean, they could use the same blueprint against San Francisco that they did against Detroit and probably do pretty well. And it said like they would have to overperform, but it said like the margin is much narrower. Okay, here than you would probably think, given that it's number one versus the number 7 seed. And again, like I said, like the Cowboys team that they beat. I mean, say what you will, the Cowboys team they're still a good team. You know, they still beat a good team in the playoffs. And the Cowboys, you know, did manage to put up a lot of yards and, you know, beat that defense even late, even though it was garbage time. Guess what? They still made it closer than they probably should have in that game. So the Packers can, you know, they can absolutely, like I said, they could get off to a hot start and then just get too laxed and then just let the 49ers come back, if that is the way it happens. Inversely, they could just, like I said, like it could be a close slugfest back and forth and come down to the last 2 minutes, much in the same way that I think the Bills-Chiefs game is going to play out, because, you know, said that is the Bills-Chiefs have always seemed to come down to the last minute plays. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for. The Lions-Buccaneers. Now, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Now, I don't have to tell you who I'm going to pick for this game. You don't have, you know, obviously. It doesn't matter if my team is the best or the worst team in the league. I'm always going to pick them, because, I mean, what's the point of rooting for a team if you're not going to think that they're going to win every single game in a season, okay? That being said, the Buccaneers are actually a really, really good matchup for Detroit Lions. I mean, we in Detroit have the Buccaneers have the one thing that Detroit lacks, or how to say this: the Bucs' strength is actually it actually directly attacks the Detroit Lions' biggest weakness. The Buccaneers have an absolutely super studded receiving core. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are absolutely studs at their position. They're probably the best receiving duo left in the playoffs, I would say. And they have to go up against Detroit, where their biggest weakness is the secondary. And that's been there the whole year. Aaron Glenn, earlier in the season, made a decision that we're going to be phenomenal at stopping the run, but we're just going to bend and break on the secondary, okay? And just hope for the best. And then just hope our offense can go out there and, you know, get off to either a hot start and just make teams chase us, or like we did against the Ravens, just get completely outdueled and outbeat in every single facet of the category. That's one of the two ways that Detroit Lions games have gone this year. Okay, because we're not really like, this isn't the Matthew Stafford Lions, you know, of like 5-6 years ago, where we were comeback capable. I don't know if that's even a verb, but anyway, we are a different team than that. Basically, the way the Lions play right now is we get off to a hot start, and then we just try to control the game into a victory through the run game. Okay. If the other team gets off to a hot start, we are not good at chasing. We are not good at making a comeback. And guess what? With Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers absolutely get off hot, and then we just, like I said, we wouldn't be able to catch up against that. Now, this is in Detroit. The crowd has to be, and it needs to be the loudest it's ever been any time. Like, I mean, last week was already the loudest. It's got to be even louder than this, okay? And Detroit Lions fans know exactly. I mean, through all the years of pain and misery and suffering that we've experienced, we know what this game means. So they're going to be loud. So that could have a huge effect on the receivers, on the players, on the opposing side. And we could beat a former division rival right here and move on to the next. And there's a good chance that they can do that. That being said, it's going to be a tough one. I think this one's going to be probably the closest game of the weekend. Obviously, I'm going to pick my team. Let's go Detroit. Let's get it done. Let's be loud. You know, let's do something that the franchise hasn't done ever in the Super Bowl era. Let's go out there and win 2 playoff games in the same season. Okay, that'd be crazy to go from a franchise that's won 1 playoff game in the Super Bowl era to winning 2 in the same season, just like doubling that total. That'd be absolutely wild. As a Lions fan, we've been waiting for this moment a long time. I think, like they said, this is the best chance we've had in forever to go on to the next round, to the NFC Championship game, and and we'll see what happens there. I mean, it's going to be exciting. If the Packers win and finally, like just finally do to the Niners what the Packers have done to the Cowboys, and then just like kind of finally bridge that ceiling, it's going to be absolutely wild, because then you could end up in a situation where you have Lions Packers, the NFC North division rivalry in Detroit to determine who goes on to next, and both teams outperforming and exceeding their expectations to then go on to the Super Bowl, which, by the way, it's just even wild to think that could be a potential for the Detroit Lions, because the Detroit Lions are an original NFL franchise. And in the decades that we've played, we have never we've never even been close to the Super Bowl. Okay, which is kind of wild to think. Like at least the Browns. I mean, as bad as they've been, they've always kind of made it to the AFC Championship game, like in the '80s and so on and so forth, and they've kind of been close a couple of times. But it's like Detroit's never even been close, right? Never even felt close. Like it's just always been we've always been a franchise. It's just kind of been like I don't know what like. But now, now's the time. Like now's the time. But, Motor City Dan Campbell. I mean, it's like I said, he could show up big. I mean, it's said like he can be a Detroit legend for all time. I mean, even if he just wins one more playoff game. I mean, it's just like he'll be a legend in that city. Just simply just how bad Detroit has been at football. But now it's like I said, we'll see. Again, the Buccaneers are going to be good. Every one of these teams is going to, like I said, I think every one of these games is going to be much, much closer. I mean, it's going to be pretty close. Again, the Ravens are going to going to try to get out from underneath the shadow of their own history and go out there and get to that game. And I think Lamar's got a good chance. I think the Packers will absolutely put on a show and have a close game against the Niners, again, because they're dangerous. They won on the road just recently. They took out the number 2 seed. I mean, we're going to see. And again, San Francisco's had holes in their game throughout the year. Then you got the Bucks Lions. Absolutely, I expect that one to be a slugfest. And then the Chiefs Bills, a classic. Again, not to take anything from Josh Allen, but again, I think, as I said, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, right? And if he wants to be in the same conversation as Brady, even close to that conversation, he's got to go out there and win a couple on the road and show himself to be a quarterback, a versatile quarterback all around. So there you have it. Those are my predictions. That is my analysis. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in, and let's circle back in a couple of days and see how this all turns out. All right, really appreciate your time, and thank you for tuning in.